A little while ago, I watched the Brady Bunch movie, and I quite enjoyed that. And then I went to look through my collection, and I realized that I had this as well, a very Brady sequel. Now, of course, I got to keep my promise. Here we go, folks. Here we go again. Here's that story. Anyway, next month is October. So October, of course, I have to do the October Horror-thon. I've got a crap ton of horror movies coming up for you to review. And I realized that I didn't have anything for the end of November. I had a little 2-week gap there where I didn't have any movies to review. So I decided to have a relaxing evening at home. Had a couple of beers and watched this. And yeah, I wasn't disappointed. And I don't think that you would be either if you enjoyed that first one. I think this one is just a tiny bit better. Now, in the original Brady Bunch TV show and in the first movie, they never did explain whatever happened to Carol Brady's first husband. Well, this movie tries to answer that, or kind of seems like it's going to answer that, in that we have a con man who comes to see the Bradys, and he's looking for a horse statue that was apparently dug up by Carol's first husband, who was an archaeologist. Now he comes back, I guess several years later, and he's played by Tim Matheson. And it's a ridiculous plot because, of course, we know as the audience that this guy isn't really Carol Brady's first husband. He's just impersonating him. He has this lame explanation, like he suffers from amnesia and has had plastic surgery, in the years since, because he obviously doesn't look like their dad. But nobody seems to make the connection that maybe this isn't the real guy. I mean, because they're the Bradys, they're dumb, they're naive, they're untrusting, and so they take the guy in and they let him live at their house. Meanwhile, Mike Brady is trying to put together an anniversary, renewal of wedding vows for him and Carol. So he's, of course, very jealous and very suspicious. But, being a Brady and being honorable and wanting to do the right thing lets this guy who says he's Carol's first husband move into the house. Meanwhile, all he's after is this statue, which is apparently worth $20 million or something like that. And he's just got to get his hands on it, and then he's out of there. But he has to play along with all the Brady antics and try and kind of be part of the family, and it's pretty ridiculous. Nowhere in this movie is it ever explained as to why, even though him and Carol are the same age, why she's such a whacked out 70s sitcom character and he's not. Maybe it's the influence of Mike Brady, who's a whack job himself. Yeah, all the Bradys are back here. This has all the original actors returning as the Brady kids and the parents, and of course Alice, the housekeeper. All those people come back, and they're all just as funny in this one. This one isn't as focused on Jan Brady for whatever reason, but she gets some funny stuff to do in here. There's one part where she's, of course she doesn't put on her glasses, but she agrees to drive somebody in the family car, and she's crashing all over the place. And and she also makes up a boyfriend and goes through these great lengths to prove to everybody that she has a boyfriend. Yeah, that crazy Jan. One of the funniest parts of this movie is a little subplot where Greg wants to move into the attic because, he's not a little kid anymore. He's going to be going to college in a couple of years, and he doesn't want to, sleep in the room with the young boys and children, and he's a man now, and but Marcia gets wind of this, and she's very jealous about it, and she feels that she deserves her own room as well. She's almost as old as him. Yeah, so they have to share the attic. It's quite funny because now with Carol Brady's supposedly first husband being there, they've come to realize that, we're not actually brother and sister. And there's a scene where they're both like getting ready for bed and they're like undressing and stuff, and they're seeing each other through this sheer curtain, and they begin to get feelings for each other, and they start playing the like sexy music, and it's pretty funny. And they're like this repressed, like deep-seated love for each other. Yeah, it's one of the funnier parts of the movie. I mean, of course, like I said, Jan Brady's pretty funny, and she has like this dummy that she brings to the malt shop or whatever to pretend that it's her boyfriend, because nobody believes her that she actually has a boyfriend, because she doesn't. But then by the end of the movie, she makes up a name for this guy, and then by the end of the movie, she actually meets a guy that's that exact same name, and they fall in love, and Jan finally gets a boyfriend, and happy ending for Jan, I guess. And of course, this whole plot with the antique horse statue, turns out it's legit. It really is like this artifact is worth like $20 million. So Tim Matheson, whose name is Roy, steals the statue, and he kidnaps Carol Brady and takes her to Hawaii so that he can sell this statue to a buyer in Hawaii. Now, the rest of the Bradys have to go after him and, rescue their mom and stuff, and they realize that, hey, this guy's been impersonating our long-lost dad, playing us for suckers. There's some twists and turns and some funny stuff that happens, but you really got to see the movie, though, to get the context of this. Now, I did think this was, in some parts, a little funnier. It's a better made movie, I think, because there's more actually going on, but there's still putting in those like elements of the old show and the concepts of the Bradys being just like weirdos from the 70s that just can't wrap their heads around the 90s. But the plot is a little better constructed, even though it's even more far-fetched and ridiculous. It's a fun time. It really is. When it comes to a letter grade for a very Brady sequel, I liked it just a little bit more than the Brady Bunch movie. And I was drinking a couple of beers while I was watching it, so of course I found it hilarious. So I gave the Brady Bunch movie a B-. I think I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to give a very Brady sequel a solid B. This is a funny comedy from the mid-90s. Funnier than most mid-90s comedies, to me anyway. It felt like it was just another episode of the Brady Bunch. Of the modern Brady Bunch that I really enjoyed. I thought they got it all together. I thought they did a pretty good job. Yeah, I guess I have to give this at least a B. So as I said, next month's October, I'm going to have a plethora of horror movies to review for you. It's going to be some weird ones in there. Might be some comedy horror in there, or horror comedy, or whatever you call it. Might be some freaky ones in there. Yeah, it's going to be a mixed bag, but stay tuned and see what's coming up. So until then, have a good one, everybody.